guys, Nick here, and welcome back to my Supergirl episode review. My thoughts on the season 2 premiere of Supergirl titled The Adventures of Supergirl. And I gotta say, it's great to be back after what was a really long break for the show, considering this show ended a lot earlier than most network shows. It ended back in April, so it had a longer break than like Arrow or Flash or Legends of Tomorrow or any of those other network shows. And here we are with the season premiere, and we're kind of kicking things off with the introduction of Tyler Hoechlin as Superman and the move from CBS to the CW. And I gotta say, I loved this episode. I honestly think this is one of the best episodes of the show. And you know what? Okay, I wanna start off by saying this. Ever since Tyler Hoechlin was announced as Superman, I knew, me being a fan of the DCEU, you know, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad, you know, I love the Superman we're getting with Henry Cavill and just the emotionally deep version of Superman that we're getting, who's a really flawed character, who's still early in his career, and who at the end of the day, he's doing his best to be a hero and to be a beacon of hope, and in a more realistic and kind of a darker world. So when it was announced that Tyler Hoechlin was playing Superman, everyone was already like, oh, this Superman's going to be more hopeful, this Superman's going to be better, this Superman's going to be this. And it's like, you can have another version of Superman without comparing it to the one that's already out and just automatically saying, oh, this one's going to be more hopeful. Like, when the pictures of Tyler Hoechlin in the suit came out, everyone was already like, oh, this version of Superman's going to be better. And then when the first clip showing Superman and Kara saving, that jet earlier in the episode first came out a few weeks ago, again, everyone was like, oh, see what Supergirl is doing better than Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel ever did. And it's like, just stop it. Like, seriously, it's so frustrating because just allow Tyler Hoechlin to play the Superman that he was written to play. Stop saying, oh, he's already going to be better when you've seen 2 minutes of footage compared to like 5 hours of footage from 2 different movies. Like, to me, I'm just tired of the DCEU hate. I'm so sick and tired of it. So going into this, in a way, I was a little bitter, and especially when Tyler Hoechlin made certain comments towards, the DCEU, and that, like, oh, this Superman's gonna be more hopeful and less darker and gritty and brooding, and it's like that turned me off from wanting to look forward to him as Superman, because it's like, again, going back to what I was saying, I'm tired of the comparisons of the dark and brooding, which is a stupid and like really incorrect criticism of the cinematic version of Superman. But I expected more from a guy who is honestly, he should be lucky to be even playing the role of Superman. With all of that being said, I went into this episode kind of with not lowered expectations, but just not being the best and most hopeful mindsets. So going in, it starts out with him as Clark Kent being being very Christopher Reeve-esque, saying, like, oh shucks, Mr. White, and I'll get you to lickety split, and it's like, stop. Like, I'm tired of the bumbling and just overly nerdy Clark Kent. That was Christopher Reeve's thing. That's not the true version of Clark Kent. That is not the canon version of Clark Kent. That was Christopher Reeve's thing that so many writers deem as, oh, now that's canon, so we have to make that a part of everything. We had to do it in Smallville. We had to do it in Supergirl. We had to do it in this. We had to do it in that. It's just like, look, Superman the Animated Series is a great example of Clark Kent just being an average guy. Like, in the aspects of this episode, when he was just being a reporter and just being an average guy, I liked Tyler Hoechlin's performance as Superman and Clark Kent in those scenes, and I thought he was a really good Superman. He did fine. He didn't do anything bad. Just like the whole lickety split and the Christopher Reeve isms of the character that really turned me off from it. Overall, I thought he did a really good job in this episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing him because me being such a huge fan of the DCEU and my love for the Henry Cavill version of the character, I think Tyler Hoechlin did a good job for bringing in the new CW Superman, and I'm looking forward to his portrayal. I thought he was really good in the episode. I'll give him that, and I like his dichotomy between him and Kara throughout the episode. So with that being said, now to get on to my actual thoughts on the episode. Almost 5 minutes into my video. I thought the intro to this episode was really good, kind of recapping the events of first season leading up to the premiere, and the premiere really picking up right where the season 1 ended. And most shows don't do that. Most shows pick up and pick up in real time, September, October of that year, months after the finale ended. So I thought it was interesting. So look, where is Supergirl time wise? Are we in October, or are we back in May? I honestly have no idea. So I'm curious where we are time wise. So I thought that was an interesting way to start out the episode. And the opening action sequence of Kara redirecting that ship, I thought was pretty awesome. I thought the action of Supergirl overall has been handled really well, especially for being a TV budget. And one thing I thought was interesting too was the move, especially with the move from CBS to CW. I thought a lot of the sets would change. Obviously, we saw a big set change with the DEO and then moving into a different building. They kept pretty much all the same sets. I mean, they kept the same set for Catco, which I thought was pretty cool, and the same set for Kara's apartment, which I thought was cool as well. Because with the move, I thought a lot more was going to change. Obviously, there are certain changes, I don't think the Lucy Lane character is going to be coming back anytime soon, who's played by Jenna Dewan Tatum. Considering she's supposed to be part of the DEO, and now she's kind of gone all of a sudden. But I get it, being on the CW, you have to realize that we can't have everyone from first season because that was on CBS and they had a higher budget. But it was just a minor thing that that didn't bother me. I just something that kind of came to my head as I was watching the episode, and I thought the move was very it didn't feel like that big of a move to me. Tone wise, it still feels the same. The city still feels pretty much the same, except there are certain shots that that are shot in certain areas of Vancouver since they moved the production from LA to Vancouver in Canada. There are certain sets that I know they've used for Arrow and the Flash, and there are certain scenes that were too overly cloudy because Vancouver is not the most it's not the most sunny city. So I could tell it was Vancouver, but for the most part, it still felt like National City, or at least the National City that we came to know in season 1. So I like the overall, just the feeling that it didn't feel like a drastic change in the setting. So I liked that. I loved seeing Cat Grant back, and for those of you who watched my episode reviews from first season, I thought Cat Grant, who started as one of my least favorite characters, became one of my favorite characters in the show. Calista Flockhart has done an amazing job, and it sucks that she's no longer a regular in the show because of the move to Vancouver, so we're not seeing as much of her. But seeing this episode where she starts out and all of her talks with Kara, and telling Kara that you really need to take the time to think about what you want. Take this time to kind of really rediscover yourself, because only you are going to know what you want ultimately. And I thought all the conversations she had, I thought were really great and well done and well performed, because I thought their dynamic has been, again, one of my favorite things in the entire show. What else? One thing I thought was interesting too, that kind of goes into my negatives, but it's also kind of a positive, were all the nods to the Christopher Reeve, and Richard Donner Superman movies, with the Miss Teschmacher thing, the events talking about, the earthquake event with Lex Luthor in California, which is obviously from the events of Superman the movie, and just the way that, that this version of Superman feels, again, really Christopher Reeve-esque. And part of me kind of thinks that Tyler Hoechlin looks a little like Christopher Reeve. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But again, I wanted the Superman to be its own Superman. And I got that vibe for most of the episode. Just, again, the whole, these split lines and stuff like that kind of turned me off. But overall, again, I like those nods that, remind us that this is the kind of Superman that we're getting, but at the same time, still being set in the modern world. So I like that. And then, of course, the Gotham Easter egg. So that, we don't know what that's going to mean, because there's obviously, Gotham and Batman Easter eggs in The Flash and Arrow already. So now we're bringing in Gotham into this universe. So are they going to do anything with that? I don't know. I kind of hope not, just because there's already the Gotham TV show. We have the Batman movies and everything going on in the DCEU. So we don't need to bring on Gotham. But I thought it was a nice, cool Easter egg for us fans. And, what else? And I thought the whole dynamic between Kara and James in this episode was a little weird, considering they pretty much built all for season 10 being in that relationship, and within the course of a couple of days, they're like, oh, now after doing some thinking, I realize we're best as friends. I understand Kara's in a different place now than where she was at the end of season 1, but it was weird because within a couple of days, she's like, oh, no, I can't be with you. I only see myself as being friends with you. And I don't mind them being friends, because romantically, I'm glad they aren't focusing on them being in a relationship, because sometimes that can really, detract from a show, especially, for those of you who know me, I stopped watching Arrow mainly because of the terrible writing of Oliver and Felicity's romance. And that was something I worry about in Flash sometimes, and that I worry about in Supergirl. And then having them be friends, allows the show to breathe, allow Kara to be her own character without being self-reliant on a man or being in a relationship. So I thought that was interesting. And one big thing too is now that we know who was in that pod from the end of season 1, it was, you know, Mon-El, or at least they don't say as much in this episode, but it's already been confirmed. Mon-El, who was a character from the Legion of Superheroes, who's very Kryptonian-esque, but is not a Kryptonian. I don't remember exactly what planet he's from, but he's more associated with the Legion of Superheroes, and, you know, he has a close relationship with Supergirl and Superman in the comics, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out the rest of the show. And of course, seeing John Corbin in the show, and Metallo back on TV since the last time we saw him in live action was back in Smallville when it was Brian Austin Green, who played an okay version of the character. This version of the character kind of feels the same with the way the kryptonite comes out of his chest and all that stuff. I don't know if that's how it is in the comics, but I'm reminded of Smallville like that. And Lena Luthor I thought was pretty good. I don't know what to expect from her in this show. Is she gonna be good? Is she gonna be bad? I mean, she is a Luthor, but at the same time, you know, we saw a version of Lena Luthor in Smallville, which was Tess Mercer, who we ultimately found out was Lutetia Lena Luthor, Lex Luthor's sister, and she was a very morally ambiguous character. She was good, sometimes good, mostly bad, and then ultimately she ended up being a hero. And in the Smallville season 11 comic, she became that universe's version of Red Tornado, and she was one of the characters that really turned around for me, and I became one of my favorite characters of that show. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with her character in the show, and considering they have a clean slate to work with, considering they don't have too much comic canon to worry about, that they can really do their own thing. And of course, the end of the episode teasing Metallo and Cadmus. I think Cadmus is probably going to be, we know, the organization that's going to be like kind of like responsible for being kind of like the big bad of this season, and I'm really looking forward to it. And to bring up some of the other things I kind of had issues with in the show, I already brought up the whole bumbling Clark Kent that I'm tired of. The cape of Superman looks awful. The way it comes up over the shoulders, I hate it. Absolutely hate it. You don't need to do the weird leather clipping onto the shoulders. You don't have to do that. Just do it like a Smallville did, or any other Superman movie. Just have it come up around the collar. That's all you got to do. Instead of like clipping it on, it just looks tacky and cheesy. It looks like a really bad action figure. The cape, not the suit. The suit itself is fine. Just the cape and those aspects. And I don't like the livery cape look, especially in certain CGI shots. The cape looks kind of just plasticky. But then it's the CW, so they love leather. So there's that. And then one other thing too, when when Superman and Supergirl saved the ship in the beginning of the episode, and they safely land it and everything, they completely ignore the passengers and they jump to the street and they're like, oh wow, that was so much fun, blah blah blah. And it's like, you're not gonna check to see if they're okay. You're just gonna kind of gloat and talk to these random people riding their bikes. You're not gonna see if they're okay. I don't know if that was like a production issue where they just kind of forgot about it, but it's like, okay, Superman in reality would check on those passengers, make sure that they're okay, and not just ignore them to go talk to his cousin. To me, that made no sense. And then this is a really, really minor thing, but the whole like Lena Luthor trying to rebrand Luthor Corp into something more positive, more hopeful by calling it L Corp. I think L Corp is a stupid name. I don't like the sound of it at all. But I mean, it's just a really minor issue. Overall, besides the issues I have with the whole, with aspects of Clark Kent being too much like the Christopher Reeve version of Clark Kent. I love Tyler Hoechlin. Okay, I don't know if I love. I really like Tyler Hoechlin as Superman, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do with his character moving forward. I know he's not going to be a series regular, but he's going to be popping up, in the next episode and more episodes moving forward. And I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with this character. I'm happy that I liked him in this episode, and again, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him, and if I'm going to still like him moving forward. So I really love this episode. I think it was a better season premiere than The Flash was, because The Flash was kind of disappointing because it didn't live up to the hype of the Flashpoint name. And unfortunately, it came out recently that even with the events of Flashpoint, Supergirl will not be part of the CW DC TV universe. They're gonna have the crossovers and stuff, but they're not part of the same cohesive universe, which I thought was a really missed opportunity, especially with Flashpoint. You could have combined and made it one cohesive universe, where you could have had Superman and the Flash and Supergirl and Green Arrow and Hawkgirl and Hawkman and Vixen and the Legends team and the JSA. You could have had all these things, and you take that opportunity, and you don't take the opportunity, which I think is kind of a mistake. So that's the thing that kind of sucks for me. But I'm still excited for the show moving forward and seeing more of Martian Manhunter and Superman and Supergirl and Metallo and Cadmus and seeing Linda Carter as the president of the United States in the next couple of episodes. So I'm really excited for the show moving forward. It was a great premiere. And so, yeah, that's going to be it for me. So if you guys like what you see here, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button below. If you want to see more of my content, I review Flash on Tuesdays, obviously Supergirl on Mondays. I'll be reviewing the season premiere of Legend of Tomorrow this Thursday. I'll be reviewing that this whole season. I review Star Wars Rebels on Saturday nights, as well as all my other videos, trailer reviews, movie reviews, and stuff on my channel if you guys want to check those out. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, have a good one.